Two identical pool cages in a Florida suburb can have entirely different fates in a storm. While one is anchored to withstand a hurricane, the other sits one heavy gust away from a $500 a day fine, a denied insurance claim, or a chunk of aluminum through your neighbor's window. Bypassing the building department to save money on a permit might look like a simple cost-saving measure. However, the engineering standards exist to address extreme hurricane physics and protect homeowners from severe financial liability. This standard enclosure looks perfectly stable from the driveway, but the components tethering this cage to the earth remain invisible to the untrained eye. We're peeling back the framing to expose the engineering flaws and material substitutions used in unpermitted builds, and the legal consequences that follow when a property is non-compliant. Choosing an unpermitted shortcut creates a specific point of failure for both the physical structure and the financial value of the property. This map shows ultimate design wind speeds, dictated by ASCE 7-22 standards. Survival requires resistance exceeding 170 miles per hour in coastal zones, but required structural strength also relies on site-specific variables, like local terrain exposure and mean roof height. Even small changes can lead to a collapse. High-density no-seam mesh acts like a solid sail, catching significantly more wind. If the aluminum frame is not upgraded to handle that increased drag, the entire structure is immediately at risk. Unpermitted builds frequently rely on a linear, one-size-fits-all construction method. This approach ignores the complex aerodynamic coefficients that govern how a cage behaves under nonlinear wind shear. The building code mandates a minimum aluminum thickness of 0.040 inches for structural members. However, unpermitted builders often use thinner, inferior extrusions that suffer heavily from metal fatigue under repeated coastal breezes. In coastal air, the hardware itself can destroy the frame. A 2017 state study found that cheap electro-galvanized screws act as sacrificial anodes. They rust and expand, physically fracturing the aluminum from the inside out. Permitted designs manage wind uplift by transferring loads into deep, continuous poured concrete footings. These require precise anchor bolt placements to ensure the concrete doesn't crack under pressure. A common unpermitted shortcut involves anchoring uprights directly into decorative brick pavers or loose dirt. When a severe storm generates enough uplift, the cage simply lifts those pavers off the ground like a parachute. Lateral stability is another frequent casualty. A 2013 study on cyclic loading proved that unbraced frames suffer catastrophic failure during a hurricane. Permitted builds prevent this with rigid K-bracing or stainless steel cables. Every skipped brace or cheap fastener represents a direct sacrifice of the homeowner's safety and the cage's long-term survival. In high-velocity hurricane zones, coastal components must survive laboratory tests for impact and pressure. To save money, unpermitted builders bypass these rigorous tests, which are designed to simulate Category 5 hurricane conditions. Following Hurricanes Charley, Ivan, and Irma, FEMA's mitigation assessment teams investigated why some structures failed. They repeatedly flagged unpermitted enclosures as highly vulnerable accessory structures. The consequences extend to the house itself. When an unpermitted beam-to-house connection fails, the force can tear the structural fascia and roof components off the primary residence. During a major storm event, a failed, unpermitted screen enclosure often becomes a dangerous source of wind-borne debris that actively contributes to the destruction of the main home. Unpermitted work also triggers code enforcement action. Fines can reach $500 a day and eventually convert into hard property liens. This creates a significant hurdle during property sales. Florida law requires the disclosure of unpermitted work, which can reduce a home's market value by up to 25%. Institutional roadblocks add to the cost. Lenders often refuse to finance the property, and insurance companies frequently deny any hurricane claims related to the unpermitted structure. The upfront savings of unpermitted work are often erased by the loss of equity and the legal liabilities that follow. Legalizing an existing structure through an after-the-fact permit is expensive. It requires engineering fees between $3,000 and $10,000, and the structure must meet the current, stricter codes rather than the codes in place when it was built. Inspectors often mandate destructive testing, which involves drilling into concrete to verify structural connections. If the work doesn't meet today's standards, the county can order a total demolition at the owner's expense. Screen Factory Florida manages the entire permitting process, utilizing reinforced monolithic anchor technology that meets all current structural codes. These engineered cages survived Hurricane Milton and include a 365-day warranty. Viewers can request a free consultation and measurement through the link in the description. Rigorous engineering and permitting provide a layer of security for your family and your finances that lasts as long as the home itself.